Morning, folks. Got a little bit different kind of day we're going to do today. We're going to start at a different place, and got here just a few minutes after sunrise, but hey, that's okay. It's early October and the water's actually looking pretty good. You ready to run and gun? It's time for blast off. Let's go. Good morning, Bassin buds. Todd here with you. Welcome back to Bassin 101, where I try to make fishing simple. And if it's your first time here, welcome aboard. Be sure you click subscribe, hit the bell notification for new videos. I try to put one out every week. Came out here to a different place this morning. I'm about a couple hundred yards down from the rock cliff wall that I showed y'all before, that real deep water. It's about a 25-minute run with a paddle, but hey, I just got my Minn Kota in the other day. I'm getting closer. It's a place I call the Turnaround. Now the Turnaround, I'll show you here, kind of where I'm at here on the river. But the Turnaround to me is kind of that halfway point between where the creek comes out and the dam. Actually, it might be a little closer to the dam. But it's a place I can get to within a half hour. And that's like the furthest I'll go if I want to get any kind of 3 or 4 hour run out of it. And I was thinking the other day, I was like, there's 2 rods in my arsenal that I haven't even had on the water yet. And I don't think they've even seen water time. I've got a couple of, it's a matching set of Lew's laser graphites. These are from around I can't find anybody to date it, not even Lew's. I'm going to guess around probably mid-late 80s. And I got a spinning outfit here, it's a medium. And I've got brand new out of the box, a Daiwa Apollo graphite. It's actually a really nice rod. And on this, I brought 2 lures today. 2 rods, 2 lures. I'm going to throw a Texas Rig Phenom. This is a midnight blue color. This isn't a Mr. Twister Phenom. This is some that somebody had made that I'd gotten off eBay just because it's just in a different color. But that's a midnight blue color. Like Bill Dan says, any color in a worm's fine as long as it's blue. And I've got it rigged up with a 2-aught old blued Eagle Claw JBL 95 or XBL 95, can't remember the number. 3/16 tungsten head that I got rubber pegged. I know you're gonna think a pegged worm, man, but look at that. It leaves that worm quick when you peg it with a rubber band. I got a couple of videos on that. You can look that up. The other I've got is another Lew's graphite, same era, on a casting handle. These are both 5.5 footers. Both of these blanks are the same identical blank. They're both medium action. They got really nice tips on them, really soft tips. This one I've got a near mint condition Daiwa HT 1000 mag force that of course I've rebuilt, and it's a doll baby. And this one, oh, you're gonna love this, guys. This one I've got. This is a cotton cordell spinnerbait. It's a heavier wire. It's about a 40 thousandths wire with a twist tie on it. I just replaced the skirt on it. So I brought spinnerbaits. I've got different kind of spinnerbaits with me, and different color worms. But I've got a good, let's see, it disappears right about there. I've got almost 4 feet of visibility, which is crazy because I've had so much stained water down here this year. The water's dropped down to 66 from 73, so it's coming down. And in this river, the colder the water gets, the clearer it gets. I know it's not true in a lot of places, but here, that's kind of how it works. And the reason I've got this one tied on this morning is because it has an Indiana blade. And with a single Indiana blade, you can keep that bait down, out of sight. Normally when I fish out of sight, I'll fish a trailer, but I'm actually trying to keep my profile small. And this is my favorite color spinnerbait. Lime, chartreuse, and white, and a flat rubber skirt. This thing just pulsates with that blade. You just can't beat the action of that rubber skirt. You do have to take care of them, I'll do a video on how to maintain spinnerbaits here down the road. But what I've got on these, I've got Berkeley Trimax, vintage Trimax. This is 14 and this one's 10. Now guys, I happened to think about this the other day. And I was like, oh man, what a wonderful accident this was. Because you can't get as basic of a setup as what I've got here. 14-pound test on the bait casting rod, 10-pound test on a spinning rod, and you can do anything you want to do. I mean, literally, you can do anything you want to do. And especially with both medium actions, you can do a lot more with them. Now, this is a pretty stout medium action. Both of them are. They got really good backbones, as you can see. I can barely even bend that thing, but it's got a really good tip. And you can't see it on camera, but I'm sitting there doing this, and it's got a really nice bend to it. It doesn't have that extra fast tip. It's got a fast tip. And what I do with these flat rubber skirts is I'll take a smelly jelly. Now, scents and rubber skirts don't go together, okay? Because scents are oil-based. But what I will do on a rubber skirt like this is I'll take it and I'll dance it. Just tips of just kind of dancing on that stuff, just to barely get it on there. And as you fish it, it'll come off. But I got a lot of brush pile in this area, and it's also deep water. It's also it's not as big of a slough as the slough is. You know, the one I fish all the time. But it is deep water, and I've caught some good fish through this run. But since they like to tinker with daylight savings, which I'm not a fan of, just leave the time the way it is. Because right now it's supposed to be like 6:45. It's actually 7:45. I hate that because it burns your day out. But I'm going to go between this spinnerbait and this worm. I'm not going to spend too much time in these areas. I'm just kind of going to go along with it. But I should have been a fish right there. I mean, right on that log. I want to bring it along with me today on a simple, basic setup: a casting rod and a spinning rod. 14-pound, 10-pound. I mean, that's just a basic setup, guys. I mean, if I know some of you guys are new into bass fishing. I get emails from y'all a lot, and some of the guys that are new to it, even some of the older fellas that are actually new to it. And I always wondered about combos and stuff like that. And if you're just starting out, or if you want to start over again and pick out something simple that you've already got, casting rod and spinning rod, both medium actions, it's hard to beat. We're going to roll on this more and see what we can get. So I brought a couple different scents with me today. If you take, you can get the power bait stuff over at Walmart. I get these bottles off eBay, don't leak, and I put the power bait in it. A little ball bearing. I just peel that off the bottle, just put it on that one. Makes it look professional. Yeah, I just thought let's try this on this worm today, and probably go between that and the smelly jelly. See what we come up with. Our little switcheroo here. I went from the blue worm to a motor oil phenom. I know some guys are going to look at you and go, what did he put on this worm? Not motor oil, it's a color motor oil. And I was just there thinking, I was like, well, who was the first to do motor oil? And I think it was Man's Bait Company, because they had a marmalade in the jelly worms. And I think it just kind of manifests itself down to becoming motor oil, which is a really hard color to reproduce. Even when you buy the motor oil colorings, they ain't the same color. So I switched spinner baits. I'm going to fish them down a little bit more. This is a spinner baits. I've never heard of these before. I got a couple of them off eBay. This is called a bush raider. I don't know if it was a local spinnerbait or what it was. All I've done is polished the blade on it. But it came with a Sampo ball bearing swivel 3/8 head, and I like the flat right there because it keeps that spinnerbait straight up in a brush pile. Probably why they call them bush raiders. But I'm going to switch to black for a little while and really keep this thing down. I have got nothing to chase that spinnerbait. So I'm kind of just doing this and letting it kind of flutter. And I love black. I don't know why, black on a spinnerbait to me is an awesome color. I'm going to fish it without a tail for right now. But I have a feeling I'll probably end up switching to a tail. If I end up fishing black spinnerbaits, it's probably what's going to end up happening. But this has got a heavier wire on it too. This has got a 040 and about a number 4 blade. So it's got a smaller blade, so it actually falls a little faster. And you're able to keep it down in the brush a whole lot easier, which is probably why they call it a bush raider. Imagine that. Alright, I went ahead and put a twister grub on it. Because I am fishing it through brush, I just went ahead and just put a grub on it. But guys, when I do a grub on a spinnerbait, I actually, I tell you, you always rig the tail with the bend of the hook. Now here's the bend of the hook, and I have my tail going the opposite direction. Why is that? I think it gives it a better side-to-side type action. But not only that, if I ever put a trailer hook on here, the grub tail won't get in the way of the trailer hook. Oh yeah, not only that, but you remember the design of a spinnerbait. The blade disturbs all this water back in here. So under this blade, it's making that tail kick. And it also doesn't give it the same action as a grub. It kind of just makes it kick. It doesn't really do a whole lot of your typical movement. But I still think it's kind of cool. Okay, so what I've done is I've kind of flippy-floppied. I'm throwing a spinnerbait on the spinning rod. I put my worm on the casting rod. I hooked a bass in a brush pile on that worm. And I kept pressure on him, and I almost had him out of that brush pile and it came off. I was like, man, but you know, I've learned something over the years. Fishing out of a kayak. Of course, I'm in a canoe now, but I'm just a little bit higher off the water, but still. When you're throwing a spinning rod, you're throwing a worm into brush piles, and you hook one. And I'm talking about Texas rigging. I'm not talking about slider fishing or slider fishing. You can lead them out with a slider worm. But as far as Texas rigging, you're better off with a casting system when you're sitting low to the water because you have more pressure to get that fish out of there. When you're throwing this type outfit, Texas rig, and say a john boat or a bass boat, something you can stand up in, then you can apply the pressure you need because you're getting a straighter angle into the water and you can pull that bass out of the cover. But when you're low to the water, you're better off with a casting outfit because it gives you just a little bit more power. You got a little more line there, a little stronger line. And what I've switched to here is an old Strike King 1/4 ounce, same chartreuse lime, white skirt, single Tennessee diamond blade. And this is just to give me a small profile that I can use around this brush. I can allow it to sink a little bit. But I tell you what, it is slow, man. Slow. That one fish I lost on that worm's all I've had today so far as a hit. And I figured, man, that black spinnerbait crawl through the brush and through the rocks and all that stuff might do pretty good. Just didn't want it. And that happens sometimes. And here it is fall. I mean, here it is early fall. Leaves are starting to come on the water. I mean, come on, man. But it's just one of those deals. I mean, there's a lot of other lures that I could be throwing. But as of right now, I just kind of want to stick with the basics. Because I'm that close to putting together my tackle for Simplify Your Fishing. I mean, I told you guys it takes a while. You can't just decide within a month, oh yeah, I'll just put this together and I'm good. doesn't work that way. You got to go through some trial and errors, throw new stuff, throw old stuff, kind of get a idea of what you want to do. What are your strong points? What kind of water do you fish all the time? That's got a lot to do with it. I mean, if you're fishing, here I'm in the river, the deepest water I might have might be 12, 13 feet deep. And here's an interesting point. Why would I invest in a bunch of deep diving crankbaits that go 15, 20, 25 foot deep if that's not what I'm fishing all the time? Once in a blue moon I might run into something like that if I go to a reservoir or something. And we have a lot of reservoirs around where I live that are either 10 horsepower or less, or trolling motor only. So it's definitely places I can take the canoe and not worry about getting swamped. Because I tell you what, man, I know a few guys around here that they've gone to Smith Mountain Lake, a big reservoir, and have had their kayaks just toppled and lost everything they had. So the way I look at it is, that's not my style. I can go into big water in this thing, especially once I get my stabilizers built, but I'm not concerned with that. There's a lot of good fish in the other reservoirs we got around here, and all within an hour's drive, so that's not too bad. Finally, I had to cover a lot of water, but he's got lockjaw. He won't open his mouth. I ain't never seen a largemouth that will not open his mouth. Finally. Look at there, guys. That's a good one. Finally got up there. Finally did something. He's about to get 2 pounds right there. I mean, he just loaded up. Put my worm up a little while ago. I decided I'm just going to do some power fishing. Just throw that spinnerbait. And I went to a 1/4 ounce Strike King, still the same color. 1/4 ounce. And it's a willow blade model, Colorado willow, which allows me to keep it down. I'm going to tell you what, I never got him in. I'm about done for the morning, but I want to chuck that spinnerbait up here a little bit more. That's the way fall fishing should be, spinnerbaits. Well, I think I'll call it. Had just a few hours this morning to get back to the house. But that was the winner for the day. 1/4 ounce chartreuse lime white. It's a willow spin. Oh, the old willow spins came out in the 80s. Trailer hook. Now, I can't tell you if I caught him on a trailer hook or not. I don't know. Because once I got him in the net, he came off. So it's a good thing I have him in that neck and lockjaw. I've never had a bass in my life just something like that, and you couldn't get your thumb in him. That's crazy. A good 2-pounder. But that's the basic setup, guys. Now, this is like I said, this is a Lew's laser stick, but this is the laser graphite series. And I'm gonna tell you what, man, these blanks, they don't hardly weigh anything. The only weight is right in here. I mean, there's just no weight. Now, this is the first time I've had these rods out. I've had them for a couple of years, just never fished them. And they're not cheap. That's, especially if you find one, they're not cheap. But I don't think these rods have ever been used. They're immaculate condition. But that's what I was saying. Simplify your fishing. A basic setup. You got your casting rod, medium, 14-pound test, and you got your spinning rod that is caught. Leave it to me, right? But you got your spinning rod. Again, 5.5 footer, medium action. These two are actually identical blanks. But this has got 10 pound. And this has got 14. And guys, you could do anything with that. You could do anything with that setup. But it's a good basic setup. I mean, it's just, you know, hands down, if you only had 2 rods to take with you on the water, that'd be a good way to do it. I mean, because you could throw smaller crankbaits, smaller spinner baits on that spinning rod, worms, you know, whatever you want to do. But that's all I got today, guys. At least we got one. So anyway, until next time, may the Father bless you and keep you in Yeshua's name. And as always, fish on.